folks, when they think about AI in the workplace, they're mortified of receiving some email from IT or policy that they've been caught leaking data a place they're not supposed to. Leaders come to us and they're just like, dude, nobody's using AI here. Everyone's too scared because they don't want to be the one to leak data and be the one on the news.
This is All Quiet on the Second Front, a podcast where boring conversations around defense tech and national security come to die. Join me, Tyler Sweat, and my Second Front homies as we dismantle the mundane and cut through the bureaucratic bullshit to demystify the world of defense tech. But be warned, this is not a typical government podcast. Are you ready to get weird?
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Tyler Sweat. Welcome to another episode of All Quiet on the Second Front, the podcast where boring defense talk goes to die. Really excited to dig into those who know me know before Second Front was at an early AI company. Had a passion for it about as long as I can remember. One of my favorite players in the space is the team at Cohere. So super excited to have Ivan with us today. Thanks for swinging by, brother.
Hey, how's it going? Excited for this conversation.
Heck yeah. So while I have the benefit of knowing you guys and you and sort of what you're working on, for those who might be, less familiar with you or Cohere, kind of give everybody like a little bit of your story, the Cohere story, and what you guys are working on.
Yeah, so I'm Ivan. I grew up in Toronto, and I've Toronto, Canada, and I've worked and lived here my whole life. Uh, my story really started around when I went to university for computer science. I thought I was going in to really crush my grades. Make my parents happy. But what happened was my friend started a startup, and she knew that I was really good at doing full stack work, and she raised a bit of VC and hired me out of school, and then that sort of uh, you know that's I dropped out of school because of that, and then I never looked back. And that's how I caught the startup bug. It was just so much fun working at startups. You're really just you own your own mandate. You can really do what's best for the mission, and that's something I didn't appreciate till I worked at a larger company later on in my career. That was sort of unique in working with a small team, that's a very mission focused team. Um, and so I caught the bug very early on in my career. Worked at a few companies after that, and then I eventually met my co-founder Aiden Gomez, who invented the transformer, of course, one of the co-authors on the "Attention Is All You Need" paper. We started a independent research lab, and that's how we got connected to folks like Jeff Hinton and other researchers in the space. And we published a few papers from there on. And really that was such a great experience to just like do my day job at big corporate company, and then after work we would meet up. I would like sneak into the Google Brain office, and we would just like crush some like papers together. We actually published a few that we're quite proud of. Um, but eventually, throughout my career of just like being the founding engineer at a few companies, and just being adjacent to founders, I asked the question like, hey, why, what makes them so special? Like, why can't we do the same? And then I pitched Aiden and then our other co-founder Nick to start a company together. And Aiden obviously was very excited about his invention, the transformer, and so we decided that was the technology we want to scale and bring into the business context. And so we found a Cohere, and our focus has always been to uh, drive business impact with AI. And to do this, it was a non-starter for us to process data. Like we knew that um, it would be very hard for a new company to be trusted to process your most top secret information. And also the models are only as good as the context you're able to feed it. And so from day one, we've been focused on building large language models that are small enough so that our customers can actually run them in their environment, and capable of ingesting, very weird context, or wield tools to access that context. Um, it also drove our focus in search models as well. So, small embedding models that index data to surface to the large language model. Um, and so because of this privacy and security angle, that's led us to serve industries, that have the most regulations around how they process data. So think healthcare, financial services, and obviously public sector now. Um, I'm quite excited about the work we're doing today. Right, I mean, just last week I learned about our customers wanting to put our entire AI stack onto the ship, and just let the crew like vibe maintain the ship, because obviously our models are running on the ship, so they can access all the top secret data that are generated by the sensors on the ship. So that's Cohere. We do secure and cutting edge AI.
Yeah, that unbelievable story and intro there. And I want to go into both parts of sort of what you wrapped with, but I'm going to go into the latter first and talk about. I think there's this, whether real or perceived, this maybe tug between speed and accessibility with privacy and security. And you talk about some of the large enterprises. I, as a father of two teenagers, I watch my kids just engaging all of the time with the new tool of the day and the new capability. How do you guys think about, right, democratizing that capability, the transformer, all of the technology you guys are bringing forward in your stack, but balancing that with the privacy and security required so that folks can do trust? Has that been a challenge for you guys, or more of like a differentiator?
So because we work in a business context, what we've seen more of is like people hesitant to use AI, and it's unique from the consumer perspective, right? Because if you think about when ChatGPT first came out, there were so many headlines about the chat model regurgitating PII or some proprietary information, whether true or not, right? But that got into the ether of the cultural headspace of consumers, and so folks, when they think about AI in the workplace, they're mortified of receiving some email from IT or policy that they've been caught leaking data to a place they're not supposed to. And so AI in the workplace has just, I mean, leaders come to us and they're just like, dude, nobody's using AI here. Everyone's too scared because, they don't want to be the one to leak data and be the one on the news. And so what we found really resonated with our customers is they don't have to choose, right? Like for us, we give them the secure by default option, so that there's a chat box here, and they know that the data is never leaving their premise, never leaving their residency. Um, and so that's been a huge validator for how we've approached building our tech. It's not easy building technology that can work without talking to the internet.
Yeah.
um, but I think this cycle of adoption that we're seeing now, where folks are hesitant to use the models because they don't want to leak data. We're seeing that investment pay off.
Yeah, and I think that leads into the getting folks, maybe it's a change management model, getting folks AI ready or preparing them for change. Where are you seeing some of those opportunities, or maybe where are you seeing success sort of engaging with those organizations? And is it education? Is it training? Is it sort of engagement? What's that look like?
So I think today, if you slap a chat interface onto everyone's desk, you're not going to magically see this productivity metric go up that you see on headlines in the news, right? Like I think there's more to that than just having a chat bot, not connected to anything, and having people generate emails and summarize memos with. While that's nice, like we've had customers who have been burned by that kind of experience. Like so I had this one customer. They did the chat interface thing. Their costs went up because of it, but they didn't necessarily see the output from their teams go up. Like the humans didn't actually do more work because there was this now chatbot that they could talk to. Like if anything, like they were more distracted all the time. So I think the interface is not quite there. So I think there's a few things to unpack, right? Like it's the interface. You know, chat is in the right context for a lot of work. It might be
Yep.
the good default path for a lot of work. Um, there's also the problem of, if you don't have a high performing team today that's actually measuring their impact, measuring their goals, AI is not going to change that. Like there's leadership problems that the technology cannot address. And if you don't have priorities straight, you don't know what the mission is, which is which is actually a very common thing. Like in
Oh yeah.
a lot of businesses we work with, like they don't know what the mission is. Just having people more productive in those contexts doesn't mean higher business impact. Um, and so yeah, obviously the interface could improve, and then also there's training as well. So people don't really know what these models are capable of today. They don't know how to enable their own organization to, connect the right data sources, build MCPs properly, and even like managing these systems. It's quite complicated, and it's something we hope to, shave away over time, like with our platform. But absolutely, it's there's a huge gap in the headlines of like, oh, we're going to replace everyone's jobs, and like the reality of the tech is just not quite there yet
Yep.
for like full autonomous, give it a work laptop and it'll replace all your employees.
Yep. No, and I mean I'm not surprised to like the interface one and sort of that broader like user experience and how does that user really engage with in a pretty frictionless way is a great insight. I want to take that to the second part of sort of where we were going to go of how do you take that type of insight? Hey, maybe chat isn't the right interface, maybe it's conversational, maybe it's something else, and bring that into public sector where maybe there's traditionally, say this like the right way, there's maybe less advanced infrastructure in some places, or there are different sort of service availabilities. Like, where do you see that trade off? Or do you see the same sort of problem where you're coming in and training and thinking about that and sort of V1 is chat? I guess what's that been like as much as you're able to share?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I think the way the products and the models are being built today, they're useful for people working from a desk, right? Your analysts, right? They're the ones sitting in front of the desk all day. They can wait, the 30 minutes for the deep research. They can sit there and read the long reports being generated by the models. So obviously they stand to gain the most benefits, and that's where we're seeing a lot of use cases, right? It's where people are trying to make sense of a huge volume of intelligence in front of a screen. Um, but the issue is a lot of folks in public sector don't necessarily work in front of a screen, right? Maybe they don't even have uh, hands available to actually type things out and get instructions from the model. And so we're seeing a lot of demand and just like being able to talk to the model and get information that way. But I think what's really exciting about this technology is it's like having your own intel analyst, like private intel analyst. You're able to pay attention to much more huge volume of information, all different sources, connect your open source to your, whatever internal thing, um, on the same platform, and you can deliver it in the format you want to receive it in, right? Maybe you prefer reports, so it'll spit out a report. Maybe you prefer 3 sentences spoken to you to really distill down to what intel should I be aware of right now. So I think it's really exciting where this technology is going for PubSec.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I never thought about it, I think, in the reverse. I'm like, how do I receive the output? And is it, hey, I've got a form factor that it like most conducive for, my own sort of mental model and how I break things down and for how I do my work and sort of prosecute the mission.
And in some cases, you might not even want to uh, prompt the model, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of like, for example, folks in the Air Force, they don't talk, right? Like they rarely communicate when they're out on the mission, and so in those cases, the system has to be proactive and react to the change in the environment and the sensors and deliver contextual information at the right time. So I think it's super interesting, like how many different ways humans would want to consume this technology, and it's nice that it could handle like basically all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty transformative, right? It's got the ability to, and you alluded to saying, hey, maybe it's an Intel analyst sort of that you can sort of bring with you. It it becomes this force multiplier if you've got the ability where, hey, I've got my sensors out and I don't even need to communicate. I'm able to just intake instead of, because one of the problems that we saw when I was in uniform, and I think has persisted throughout is this like, cognitive load, information overload where folks are looking at a screen or, a tact device or a sensor, and they're trying to make sense of just this like litany of input and how to actually separate signal from noise and generate insight and the ability to do that in a like low weight kind of not a ton of drag way. I think has the ability to really change the velocity and the vector of mission output, which is really freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean we've had a request where folks wanted the model to talk with different levels of urgency in the voice,
Yeah,
depending
that's
on the
super cool.
on the information that's being communicated. So it's fascinating, man. It's honestly
Yeah.
like problems I've never thought about.
Yeah, that rocks. All right, two questions, sort of turning us home. One question, and I might be springing this on you, but I'm genuinely curious. Like, as you look out over the next, I don't know, like call it 2 to 3 years, something like that. What are you most excited about? Like, what do you got like in the back of your head? You're like, hey, this is going to change the world. This is going to be awesome. What gets you fired up?
I think the idea that um, any operator, any analyst could basically work with the same platform, uh, obviously communicating it the way they like to communicate, and interface with it, and then also receiving information the way they like to receive it, but it's still the same underlying data platform connected to the same source of data, same context, um, safe and secure, and I think enabling the folks at the edge, working on these mission critical use cases, that's where I'm the most excited about. Like I think
Yeah,
the being able to completely have this like omnipotence over the theater, and also open source, and also internal data sources, enabling that kind of capability is yeah what I'm really excited about.
yeah, that I'm not surprised. That friggin' rocks. It's super cool. Um, Going from that sort of into our last question, which is a little bit of structure, and I tell everybody it doesn't have to be connected to sort of what we're talking about, but Ivan gets a magic wand. He's king for a day, gets to wave it and make anything become true, become fact. What's one thing you change and why?
I would fix our impending supply chain issues in the West.
Yeah.
It is, I've been thinking about it more and more as I've been working in the space, and I think that is like a thing that keeps me up at night the most. It's how currently we're compromised on the supply chain level, and we've obviously seen very impressive effects. If you have control of the supply chain, and so and not just not obviously not just for our you know F-35s and stuff like that. Like I think even for the consumer stuff, not being able to control our supply chain and own that um, is quite concerning to me. And so if there was a way to somehow get us off uh, the addictiveness of a very cheap and also cheap and high quality workforce in our adversaries, like that would be very convenient.
It was a diplomatic way to say a cheap and high quality workforce. I like that. I agree though. I mean, I think as you start to overlay supply chains over each other, it gets very concerning very quick. And I don't think we pay enough attention to that. That's a great point.
Yeah, yeah, we've seen what happens when someone can interfere with someone else's supply chain, uh, and I don't want to see what happens when your adversaries control your supply chain.
Yeah, agree. Agree. Well, brother, look, you're leaving me here fired up about these hyper empowered operators in the future with you guys building capability that's going to be able to just talk to them the whole way through and almost coach them through a mission. That is what a cool vision to be building. So, one, thank you for making time to come share that with us today, and two, thanks for doing what you're doing because the world needs more like Cohere.
Roger that, Tyler. I've
Heck
really
yeah.
enjoyed this conversation.
Heck yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Cheers.